Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing another ranking video. So this is for all the products that I tried in the month of February. I did one of these last month and you guys really seemed to enjoy it and asked if I would do it again. And I think these are a little bit more helpful than just favorites videos because that way you can see like the good, the bad, and all the in between. And also you guys may have noticed that I'm filming in a different room. This is actually our guest bedroom. So I like to film in here every once in a while and just kind of switch it up. I've filmed in here before for those of you guys who've been watching me a long time, but I will go back to the other setup. I'm just kind of bored with it at the moment, so I figured I would just switch it up. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with eyeshadow palettes. I tried 10 palettes during the month of February, and I'll start with my least favorite and then work my way to the best. So coming in at number 10 is the Profusion Lovestruck palette. So this one, now actually I should preface this by saying none of these palettes were bad per se. It's just my least favorite and maybe like least likely to use out of these 10 palettes, but I still think it is a really good palette. There's just a couple of issues that I found with this one that I didn't have with some of the others. The first downside to this palette is that there are pressed glitters, which I don't use personally, so that's a negative for me. Also, some of the shades can be a little bit more on the crumbly side and a little bit dry. And when I say that, I'm mostly talking about the shimmers. I think all the matte shades in here are really good. I always enjoy Profusion's matte formula, but I just feel like the shimmers in this palette are very hit or miss. Some of them go on really sheer, and maybe they're meant to be that way. Maybe they're meant to be kind of more of like a topper, but just some of them had like this dryish, crumbly kind of feel to them, which I didn't really like that much. Not to mention that for some reason, I've never known this with Profusion's eyeshadow palettes before, but this one has a really strong chemical smell when you open it, and I've never seen that in any other Profusion palette, so that was a little bit off-putting to me as well. So that's why this one's coming in at number 10, but otherwise I really like the color story. I think the matte shades are great, and most of the shimmer shades too. I just felt like there was a couple of little issues. Coming in at number 9 is this Blue Sky palette from C Color Cosmetics. Now you guys know I love C Color and I have no complaints about the formula of this one at all. I do think it's a really good palette. However, I just feel like it's not something I reach for that often because I don't really wear blue eyeshadows on a regular basis, and another negative to this is just the packaging. I just felt like this packaging was kind of cheap compared to their normal cardboard palettes or even like the tin ones I like a little bit better, and this one, I don't know, it just felt kind of cheap to me, but I do think the formula inside is really awesome. Coming in at number 8 is the ColourPop All That palette, and I love ColourPop. You guys know I love them. I love the formula of this one too, no complaints, except it does have a pressed glitter again, but this one just wasn't my favorite color story. I'm not really into like those reddish tones. However, I do want to mention that the top row of this palette and most of the second row, aside from the glitter, are beautiful. Like they're very like wearable for my skin tone. When I first saw this palette, I was thinking it was going to be very dark and red and something that I wouldn't get a lot of use out of, but I actually did get some really, really pretty kind of pinkish or like dusty pink looks out of this. So I really like it for that. I pretty much stayed away from these darker shades on the bottom unless I was doing like either a liner or like just a little bit in my outer corner. And the main reason this one is a little bit lower down on the list is just because I feel like I get the same looks out of it over and over again. So for that reason, I kind of pushed it down to number 8, but otherwise I think the formula is really good and the looks that I do get out of it are really pretty. Right, so then coming in at number 7, we have the C Color Lust in Paradise palette. Again, not a fan of the cheap packaging so much. I do think that the formula is pretty good, and this one's a dupe for the Too Faced Natural Lust palette, and I actually like the formula of this one a little better than the Too Faced, so that's definitely a good thing. But I don't know if it's because I've owned the Too Faced one now for a while that I just am not like reaching for this all the time because I feel like the color story is already old, like it's something that I already had, I guess. But if you don't have the Too Faced Natural Lust and you like this color story, I think this is a really good solid option. I think it's a good palette. I think it's just, you know, again, for me personally, I'm just trying to rank these in order of like how often I use them or reach for them, and this one's just falling a little bit lower on the list right now compared to some of the other ones I'm going to show you, but I do think the formula is really good. Alright, so then coming in at number 6 is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Instant Eye Palette, and this one is beautiful. The formula is amazing. This was my first Charlotte Tilbury palette that I ever purchased, and I don't know how those quads are. I've heard like, you know, mixed things about them, but the formula of this is amazing. The shadows blend so beautifully on the eyes. They are absolutely gorgeous, velvety, soft, pigmented. I would say the only thing that's knocking this one down on the list for me a little bit is these reds down here, and that there's not many shimmer shades in the palette. Really, if I don't want to do a red eye look, and we have these two red shimmers down here, the only other two are this really light one, which I generally don't use all over my lid just because it's very light, and then this kind of pinky rose gold one, which is beautiful, but this is like the only shade that I use if I don't want to do reds, which I don't do that often. So for me, this is more of like the colors that are included in the palette versus the formula. Because if I had to go by formula, this would be like at the top of the list, but I think it's just because, again, I feel kind of limited with the looks that I can get out of this one, because if I want to do something more neutral, there's some really beautiful neutral mattes, but I'm the type of person that I don't do all matte eyeshadow looks very often, and I want a shimmer for my lid, and I really only have like this one to pick from. So that's why this one is number 6. Otherwise, I think it's beautiful. And then coming in at number 5, we have the ColourPop You Are a Cutie palette. This one I really like a lot. I think it's beautiful, especially for this time of year. It was great like that it came out around Valentine's Day. You can get some really pretty like romantic looks out of it. The only thing about this one is that some of the shades are a little bit misleading if you look at them in the pan, especially like these brown shades. They go on my eyes very pink toned, so it was just a little bit of a surprise for me, and I felt like most of the looks that I got with this palette were very pink and very rosy, and there wasn't a lot of like neutrals to kind of help ground some of those looks, or if I just wanted something a little bit more on the neutral side, it was hard because all of these shades kind of go onto my eyes looking pink. Even like this bluish purple one that looks blue in the pan comes on really, really pink. This soft pink right here is not actually that soft. It's actually kind of a brighter pink on your eyes. So for that reason, it knocked down a few pegs, but otherwise I do think that this is a really beautiful palette. And then coming in at number 4, we have the Charlotte Tilbury Darling palette. And this one I love because it's so small and it's going to be great for traveling with. The formula is also just like the bigger one. The formula is fantastic. The only negative to this one is that when I was swatching it with other palettes that I already have, I realized it's almost identical to the Milani Pure Passion palette. And I actually showed that in a dupe video that I did a couple of weeks ago. I mean, spot on almost. So for that reason, I kind of feel bad that I spent the money on it. It wasn't cheap. I think it was over $50 for this little tiny palette. So that's why it's kind of knocked down on my list a little bit, because if you already have the Pure Passion palette like I do, it's kind of like, oh, why did I buy this? You know, because I already have these colors, and I feel like the formula of that one is almost as good as this one anyway. So I do really like this palette. I guess the saving grace of it is that it is so small and travel friendly that, you know, it's a little smaller than the Milani one, but it's still a really beautiful palette at the end of the day. And then coming in at number 3, we have the LA Girl Pro Artistry palette. I am so impressed with these palettes. They're fantastic. The formula is so, so good on it, and I love the colors. I love how neutral this is, but at the same time you have a little bit of color in there. These greens are so stunning. I love them so much. Even this like silvery taupey gray is beautiful. So I'm very happy and surprised with this palette. I thought it was amazing. At number 2, we have the Pro Mastery palette from LA Girl, and this one I like just a little bit more because of these beautiful rosy tones. I think it's just perfect. I love it's kind of like a little bit of a dustier pink vibe, and you also have like some rose gold, some bronze, some beautiful browns down here. This is an amazing palette. It's so super gorgeous. And then coming in at number 1 is the Too Faced Born This Way Natural Nudes palette. So this one I did not think I was going to love as much as I did, but I find myself reaching for it again and again and again. And in my dupes video, I showed how this is a very close dupe to Soft Glam by Anastasia. But the reason why I've been reaching for this one more than that one, and the difference that I see between them, is all formula related, because Anastasia's formula is a little bit more like on the powdery side. It's quite dusty when you go to dip your brush into the shades, and one thing I loved about this one is that it's not that way. And I have hooded eyes, so lid space is super important, and I want to make sure that when I'm putting shadow somewhere, it stays there. And with really dusty powdery shadows, I tend to like put it in a certain area, and then as I blend, it goes way too far or further than I want it to. And these shadows are a little bit more dense and firmly pressed, but not so much so that they won't blend once you put them on your eyes. I have that issue with Natasha Denona's shadows, but this is just that perfect in between of blendability, but also it's not super powdery. So that's one thing that I love about this, and I find that like wherever I put the shadow, it stays, and I just get like some of my best eye looks with this palette. And I also just love the neutrals in here. I love that you have kind of these pink rosy shades, and you also have some neutrals mixed in and also some warm tones. So it just kind of has a little bit of everything with a beautiful formula. So that's why this one is at my number 1. Okay, so the next category is blush and bronzer, and I have 3 different things to share with you, and honestly I cannot really choose between them because they're all amazing. They're all really good. I've really been reaching for them all kind of on a rotating basis. So let's start with, I guess, just my number 3, and that would be these L'Oreal Age Perfect blushes. These are really beautiful. beautiful. When I swatched them, I wasn't super impressed because the color hardly showed up, but with a brush, when you're applying them to your cheeks, they're just really friendly to the skin, and they just look so natural, almost like you're blushing from within. The formula, the powder is so finely milled that it doesn't look heavy or powdery sitting on your skin, which I really love. And these are formulated already to work with more mature skin types. I also have dry skin on top of being mature, so I just felt like these worked out really beautifully, and they have just like the slightest hint of a sheen to them too, which just gives your cheeks a glow without being sparkly or glittery, which is awesome. And then coming in at number 2 are these BH Cosmetics Truffle Blush Palettes. I got 2 of them. I got Chocolate Orange Truffle and Vanilla Cream Truffle. So the Vanilla Cream is a little bit more rosy and a little bit more pink, slightly more cool toned, and then you have the Chocolate Orange Truffle, which is more like of a peachy warm vibe. I love both of these. I've been using them like interchangeably. I love how each one has 4 different colors in it too, because you can kind of dip into one, use it a little bit, then dip into another one and kind of create a custom color. I actually did that today. I'm wearing the chocolate orange one, and I started out with this one down in the bottom corner, and then I just popped a little bit of this lighter one on top, and I just love these. The only thing I'll say about them though is that they are super powdery, so be careful with them when you dip your blush brush in. You only need like the tiniest little bit. I learned that the hard way because the first time I dipped my brush into this, it got covered in blush and it was way too much, and it just was like major clown cheeks. So you have to be really careful and just like lightly tap your brush into it, and then you just pick up a ton of pigment on the brush right away. So just a quick word of warning, but otherwise I've really been enjoying these a lot. And then coming in at my number 1 spot is this Physicians Formula Butter Collection. This is the collab that they did with Whaley, and I love this one so much. I think the colors in here are just perfect for my skin tone. I think if you have a deeper skin tone, sadly this probably would not work as well for you, but it's rare that I can find a blush palette like this or a face palette where I can use every single color. Even the bronzers are not super deep. You do have like a warmer one and then one that's slightly more like neutral to cool. These 2 blushes are gorgeous, and the formula is fabulous as always. And then these highlighters as well. I'm not really a highlighter person, but these creamy highlighters look a little bit more natural than powder ones do on me. They tend to like not accentuate the texture as much, and this one has kind of like a marbled effect. It's so beautiful. So this one I've just been reaching for so much. I'm wearing this bronzer all over my face today, and really it's just beautiful. So I can see myself definitely taking this on travel with me because it's just like all my cheek products in one palette. Alright, so then moving on to complexion, I'm just going to do foundation, concealer, and primers like all in one category and just rank them based, again, just by how much I've been using them and liking them. So at the bottom of the list is this Bite Beauty Changemaker Foundation. I was very excited for this one, especially when I first swatched it and it just looked like skin. It was amazing. And the same thing happened when I put it on for the first time on my face. I thought it looked awesome and really natural. The only thing is, as it wore throughout the day, I noticed it settling into fine lines and pores. It just didn't look good for very long. Also, it kind of broke up in some areas, and then in other areas it looked a little dry. So overall, this was pretty much a flop for me, and I've heard very mixed reviews on it, so I would love to hear what you guys thought down in the comments below. Alright, so that one was number 7. I forgot to say the number. So coming in at number 6 is the Nabla Close Up Futuristic Foundation. So again, this was a very similar situation in that I put it on my face initially and it looked really good. The only issue is that this can tend to be a drier formula. It just looked a little bit dry on my skin. Once I stepped out of, you know, my lights and into more natural light, I could really see it kind of clinging a little bit. And this is the type of foundation that it doesn't leave you feeling like dewy, which is kind of a good thing because I don't really like that dewy sticky feeling. It dries down very fast, but I just felt like, at least for right now with my skin being so super dry, that this accentuated that a little bit. So I think I'm gonna revisit this one in the spring or summer and see if I like it a little better, because it does have a very natural skin-like finish. I just think my skin might be a little bit too dry for it right now. And then at number 5, we have the Bite Beauty Changemaker Skin Optimizing Primer, and I have the normal to dry one. So this is a nice primer. I don't really see much wrong with it. It did a good job at hydrating my skin and also making it feel smooth. I don't think it smooth pores though quite as well as my L'Oreal Studio Secrets primer that I love, or the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer, and I just feel like it's a lot of money to spend on a primer when there's others that I like more, especially drugstore options. So for that reason, it's sitting at number 5, but otherwise I thought it was like a decent primer. It was okay. And then at number 4, we have the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Concealer. So this concealer is really nice. It's very hydrating on my skin again, but it has like that dewy look to it. And for some reason, even though I have really dry skin, I'm not a fan of dewy concealers. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like if my under eye area looks glowy, it draws attention more to the fine lines. And that's one thing that I really didn't care for with this one. I felt like when I went outside, it was a little bit noticeable on my skin. But I do love how creamy it is. It has that perfect like light amount of coverage that I need without being like too heavy. So I like that about it. But there are also tons of concealers that I like more than this one. So that's why it's not that high on the list. And then at number 3, we have the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation. I love this. I'm wearing it today. I've been wearing it a lot lately, and it's just a really nice light coverage foundation. It's maybe like light to medium. You can build it up without it getting cakey. Again, it's formulated for more mature skin types, so I don't find it settling into fine lines. I don't find it looking cakey on me or mask-like. It's just a really beautiful formula. The only downside to this one that I've found so far is that it has chemical sunscreen in it, and I react to those sometimes. So far this has been okay. I haven't had any type of issues with it, and I've been wearing it quite a bit. So fingers crossed that whatever the chemical sunscreen is in here, I'm not allergic to that one, because this one also has mineral sunscreen in it as well. It has like a couple of different ones. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but I've been wearing this now for like 2 weeks and haven't noticed any issues, so hopefully it's okay. And then my top 2 are actually concealers, and I don't know how to pick between these because they're very different in terms of like what you're getting out of them. The Zoeva Authentic Skin Perfector. This concealer is amazing. It's basically just like the foundation, which I've raved about. It's one of my favorite foundations because it is so skin-like. This one is basically just like that. It maybe gives a little bit more coverage, but it's still not a heavy coverage concealer. So things are gonna poke through if you have like some darkness under your eyes, or especially like in the inner corner where I get it, those are gonna poke through this. It's not like a completely full coverage formula. Whereas this one from Doll 10, which is called TCE, this covers everything, does. This covers everything. So it kind of depends on like what I'm looking for that day and how much, you know, brighter I want my eye area to look. This one is very skin-like, and it looks like you're almost wearing nothing, but it just gives like that brightness and a little bit of coverage. While this one, the thing that I love about this is it's basically, for me, like a better version of what Shape Tape does, because first of all, this one is so creamy. It's not as dry as Shape Tape. Another thing that I love about it is that you only need the teeniest little bit, and that's key when you have fine lines underneath your eyes like I do, because when you pack on the concealer, that's when you get that cakey look and the creasing and the settling and all that. And with this, you need like basically a dot the size of a pinhead, and I just put it in my inner corner where I need the most coverage and then just blend it out, and a little bit goes a very long way. So with this, it allows you to put less concealer than you normally would, and I don't feel like I need to pack on layers and layers. So that's what I think is great about this one, is just that I can use it super sparingly, and it doesn't crease and it doesn't settle into my fine lines. So it's beautiful. Highly recommend this one. Next up, I tried 2 new mascaras in the month of February. The first one, and probably my least favorite of the 2, is the Fenty Beauty mascara. I can't remember what the name of this is. Full Frontal. I got a little sample of this at Sephora, and I think it did a great job actually at volumizing and lengthening my lashes. It was also long lasting, but the reason that it's in the number 2 spot instead of number 1 is the brush. So this brush, I mentioned this in another video already, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it's kind of like this weird flat brush, and then you turn it to the side and it's really skinny. So you're supposed to use the flat side and go up, you know, comb through your lashes first and then turn it and kind of comb through them again with the skinny side. And it's just awkward for me to use, and every single time I use this, I get mascara somewhere on my eyelid. Like, it's inevitable that it happens every single time with this. So I just feel like because the brush is so awkward to use, that's what's putting it in the number 2 spot, but I do really like the results that it gives, so there's that. And then in my number 1 spot is the Age Perfect mascara from L'Oreal. So while I wouldn't say that this gives you like the most length and volume I've gotten out of a mascara, I think it's pretty good and it lasts all day on my lashes as well. Would I replace some of my favorites with this one or the Fenty? Probably not, because I think I still like the CoverGirl Supersizer more than this one. Tarte Lights Camera Lashes, It Cosmetics Superhero. There's a bunch of them that I would still put over this one. All right, so last but not least, we have lip products. So at the bottom of my list, most is this L'Oreal Age Perfect lipstick in the shade Bright Mocha. And honestly, I didn't hate any of the lip products that I tried this month, so keep that in mind. The only reason this one is at the bottom of the list, because I love the formula, is the smell. It has like that rose kind of scent or perfumey scent that L'Oreal has, and I heard other people saying it didn't have that, which was one reason that I felt comfortable buying it, but no. It definitely does. I don't know if I'm just sensitive to it, but it's pretty strong to me, so I'm not a fan of this just for that reason. I don't see myself wearing it because that kind of smell on my lips all day just makes me like start to feel sick after a while, so won't be repurchasing this one, sadly. And then next up are the MAC Patent Paint Lip Lacquers. So when I swatched these, I thought they were gonna be amazing. Like, they're so creamy and they feel almost like a gloss, but like they're supposed to have a little more staying power. Unfortunately though, my lips felt really dry after wearing these for a little while. When I first put them on, they felt great, and it did feel kind of like a lip gloss or almost like a gel type of formula, but as time went on, maybe after about a half an hour or so, it dried down, the shine kind of went away, and my lips were just left feeling dry. So that was kind of a letdown, and I'm not really a big fan of these either. But one thing from MAC that I really liked are their lip liners. So this is the one in the shade Soar, and I've heard so many great things about this, and I just think these lip liners are so creamy. And I actually used this one as a lipstick one day in a video, and I got quite a few questions asking me what I was wearing. And it was this right here. I just put this on and put a little lip balm on top, and it made for a really beautiful lipstick. I love the color, so I think these lip liners definitely live up to the hype. Another MAC product I really like, and by the way, all of these MAC products I'm showing, they did send me in PR. Another one that I really like is the MAC Prep and Prime for lips. This is something I was kind of not expecting to love as much as I do, because I thought it was going to be one of those lip products that kind of feels waxy and just kind of like smooths in your lips with a layer of wax. I've tried a few of those in the past, and I don't like how they feel on my lips throughout the day, even though they do kind of fill in the lines a little. This one fills in the lines, but actually feels kind of like a lip balm. It feels less waxy than the others, so I really like this a lot. My lips don't feel like dry or like that tacky feeling. So I've been putting this under all my lip products lately and really, really enjoying it. And then coming in at number 1 is the Bare Minerals Mineralist Smoothing Lipstick. So I have this one in the shade Focus. It's what I'm wearing on my lips today, and I just love these lipsticks. They're so smooth. They just kind of like become one with your lips. They kind of smooth everything out a little bit, and I just think it's a beautiful formula. It's like, I would say not super long lasting, but longer lasting than a gloss or a balm would be. It's about average for a bullet lipstick. It does leave a slight bit of stain behind, which is nice because it helps extend the staying power. I don't think it has a scent to it. If it does, it's not something that I even notice, but I like this one so much, I'll probably get some more shades. Alright guys, so that's all I have for the month of February. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, let me know down in the comments if you've tried any of these products this month and what your thoughts are on them. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button right in the corner of your screen, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys!